Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your relationship without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired, taken care of, and special, even if your relationship feels completely hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today we're talking about what to do when your husband won't apologize. I'm going to give you 3 power moves you can use to restore the peace after a breakdown. My guest Yola was in an exhausting, lonely marriage and felt that she had to raise the kids by herself because her husband wasn't there for her. They weren't communicating and they didn't even like each other. She wondered what the point of being married was when they just argued every day. Divorce seemed inevitable. Then she found something that empowered her to create peace and connection and family hugs. She's going to tell us exactly how she did that and give us her best tips for making your relationship peaceful. Then I'll be giving out the award for the worst relationship advice of the week, which is so quick to come up in conversations, even among girlfriends over margaritas. And it seems like a self-respecting thing to do, but most of the time it's just lousy advice. All that is coming up. But first, let's talk about what to do when your husband won't apologize. If you're anything like I was, when you fight with your partner, you both say nasty things. It can be shocking to see how low this thing you live with will go. And while I've said some regrettable things during a fight, the biggest thing on my mind when it's over is that he owes me an apology. Big time. And it better be a good one to convince me that he's really sorry and he'll never do it again. Until then, I will show that I'm waiting for said apology by being distant and having an irritated look on my face, because that ought to motivate him. But it didn't. Mostly that approach got me a Cold War and wall-to-wall hostility. It's stressful. It's hurtful. Fortunately, I have a much better post-fight game plan now. Here are 3 power moves to restore the peace and connection after a fight. All right, here's the first power move. You ready? Number 1, own your part. I wish somebody had told me sooner how much peace and power there is in apologizing for my part in a scuffle. I mean, maybe they tried, but I didn't get the message. So I spent many years waiting to be apologized to, which just made me a victim. Victims don't have that much fun, it turns out, and they don't have such great relationships either. Take it from me. Also, I wish I'd known the anatomy of an accountable apology sooner, because that's where the real magic is. Now, a breakdown is my signal to check if I have something to clean up, right? And I absolutely love knowing that I can bring peace to my relationship and to my soul by taking responsibility for whatever I said or did that was less than who I aspire to be. Sometimes I have to think a long time before I can identify my part of the mess, because I just don't want to admit that I jumped to conclusions. I interrupted. I controlled. I criticized. Even after all these years of being in the habit of apologizing, it is still uncomfortable to look for my faults. It's also a relief. I can give up the exhausting dance of trying to defend myself and embrace the liberation of saying some terrible things were said, and I'm the one who said them. What about his apology, you might wonder? I mean, when is he ever going to learn this secret? When I find the courage to burst the tension bubble myself with an apology, I often get one back. But even if I don't, I get something I've come to value even more. It's a clean side of the street. I no longer have to defend the indefensible. Phew. That often restores the peace immediately. But whether my apology is accepted or not, I've done what's in my power to set things right. And holy cow, that feels good. Here's the second power move. Number 2, issue just one apology. I remember having serious fights in the past where I just wanted my husband to get over it so we could get back to normal. So I would say I was sorry again and again. Sorry, 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 because more is more, right? Well, that did not have the desired effect. He would just get more irritated. And that's because it wasn't so much about me being accountable or remorseful. No, it was more about trying to get him to snap out of being upset so I wouldn't be uncomfortable and anxious about our lack of connection. And these days, I prefer a one and done approach. Unless he didn't hear me or there's a new offense I want to clean up, one apology is enough. No need to repeat myself like a trained parrot, even if he's still upset and going on about how awful I was being. A singular, solemn apology has more gravity than repeated groveling, in my experience. And it leaves me feeling more dignified, even if I just had an ugly meltdown all over my husband because the new dryer door opens the wrong direction. True story, I'm sad to say. It's not a proud moment, but at least I'm not doubling down on my bad behavior by defending it or trying to wish it away with repeated sorries. Even if I don't get immediate forgiveness in that moment, once again, I know I'm clean. Here's the third power move. You might be surprised by this one. It's to do nothing. 99% of the time when I'm in a conflict with someone, even if I feel my actions were completely justified given the situation, there's something I would have liked to have done better. And since I love the feeling of empowerment that I get, I usually look for something to apologize for, like that I didn't communicate very well or that I wasn't more patient. But on exceedingly rare occasions, I can't think of anything I've done that was regrettable at all. I'm already clean. And apologizing would be betraying myself because it wouldn't be authentic. It would be a manipulation meant to get the other person to change how they're acting, which is tiring and it doesn't work all that well. So I don't apologize in those situations. I just try to stay on my paper and not apologize. And of course, that can be stressful. Not too long ago, I recommended a paint color to a friend, and she gave that color to the painter, but then didn't like that color once it was up on the high ceiling. And she was unhappy. She wanted me to take responsibility for making a bad recommendation. And in the face of this breakdown, I was tempted to apologize to make nice. But when I looked for my part in the conflict, I found I had no part in causing her unhappiness. My side of the street felt clean already, so I felt no pull to use my super powerful restore the peace secret weapon. I had shown up the way I wanted to in this instance. All I could do was empathize about how disappointing it is to spend money on a painter and not like the results. The conversation was still going along uncomfortably, and then a funny thing happened. My friend sighed and said, "I know it's not your fault. I don't like the paint color. I'm just bummed about it. I'm sorry for trying to blame you." And the tension was gone. And all I had done was stay true to myself and listen to my friend process her disappointment. The same can happen with my husband. He could be a grouch on the couch, throwing out blame I don't think I deserve, or invitations to an argument. And I can RSVP not attending to that argument and tend to my own side of the street. I save myself from owing an apology later. If you have a conflict with someone in your life right now, a great experiment to try is to ask yourself which of these three moves would contribute to greater peace. Do you owe an apology? Will you issue one and only one? Or is your side of the street already clean? Try out these power moves and see what happens. Next, my guest Yola is going to tell us how she got her lonely, painful marriage out of the ditch and created a loving, affectionate relationship. If you're wondering how to get started with fixing your relationship and making it shiny again, then you need a roadmap. Get 6 simple steps to follow that will set your relationship up for success. Discover 3 common mistakes that wives make trying to fix their relationship that just make things worse when you download my free Adored Wife Roadmap. You can do that at getcherished.com. Go to getcherished.com now to get your roadmap in minutes. Yola, welcome to the podcast, the Empowered Wives podcast. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, good. Well, I would just love to have you start by telling us a little bit. I mean, gosh, it's not really a very hi, how are you question, but if we can go just right to what your relationship was like before you knew what you know now about the intimacy skills, before all the training you've had. Can you take us back to what your marriage was like then?
Definitely, definitely. And I would just start with that it was exhausting. It was just exhausting. What we have been dealing with, been married almost 15 years, and for 8 years of our life, it was just very hard. It was just very hard. We had 3 kids within that period of time, work, everything going on, and I just felt like I had to raise the kids all by myself, that I didn't have any support, that he just wasn't there for me. And he was doing his work, I was doing the kids and work on top of it, and we're not communicating. We just didn't like each other very much. So many times I asked myself, like, is this even worth it? And I'm like, what's the point? And then, I thought about my mom who had a bad marriage. I thought about my grandma who had a bad marriage. Not me. My life was supposed to be different. And it just wasn't. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was exhausting. It was lonely. And I just didn't want to be there. It just, yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever think about that you might have been just doing the same things you saw your mom do, and maybe even your grandma do in your relationship?
I definitely did what my grandma did, because she was the strong woman with 10 kids who did everything by herself, and he was totally useless and worthless. And
he was what?
Useless and worthless.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looked like it. It looked like that. And then for my mom was divorced because they were fighting all the time, and so she had to raise us by herself. So, needless to say, I did not have good role models. Not at all.
No.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going good at your house. You weren't having the kind of marriage you were hoping to have when you got married, it sounds like.
When we got married, we were very happy. The first 5 years of the marriage, we were thriving. We were so happy together. We worked together. We did everything together. We were just ecstatic. And then things just shifted. And we're just like, what happened? And we couldn't get back to it. Like, I tried so hard. I was in coaching for 3 years, literally. And it was just like they would help me patch little holes. And just little here, little there. Okay, just get through it. And it probably helps to just get through and not get divorced, but not enough to have a good marriage.
Yeah.
And when I was like at my wit's end, literally.
So you weren't coaching with Laura Doyle Connect. You were other.
That was life coaching.
That was life coaching.
It was life coaching.
Okay.
Life coaching, but not relationship coaching. Which now I know better that if you are fixing a relationship, you kind of need to go for the relationship. One does not fit all. No way.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, was there a moment where you said to yourself, I can't go on like this. This is not okay. Can't do this.
Definitely. It was like, I'll never forget that. It just brings tears to my eyes, because it was our 7-year-old son, and it was our oldest, because we had 3 kids at the time. And we were arguing yet again, like every day. And he just came up to us and he just looked at us, both of us, and he was like, guys, why you keep fighting? And like, I was just like, oh my gosh, they see it. It's no longer just us in the bedroom fighting. It's like they see all those outbursts. They see us not like liking each other. And I'm like, is that the example I want to set? I'm like, no, there's got to be better. And I was just so fortunate that one of the life coach I had last, she actually recommended the book. I'm like, that's the best service she's ever given to me, because she recommended Laura's book, and things just changed from there on.
I can't wait to get to that part. Well, which book did this coach recommend?
It was The Surrendered Wife, and I inhaled it. I literally inhaled it over 2 days. When I got it, I was just like, as soon as she told me, I got it on Audible. And I inhaled it over 2 days. And then I was on the website looking. I went to a retreat. That was just a lucky time that I went to a retreat for 2 days. So I had the time for me. And I just looked through all the videos on the website. I looked through all the different things. And even that day, I was already looking at the coaching program. It was just, I didn't even know how to implement it, how to do it. But I was just so inspired and so empowered. The empowerment was the biggest that I could ever imagine. When you just look at yourself and you say, okay, it's up to me. It's up to me. I can do it. I'm not helpless anymore.
So you kind of moved out of that I'm a victim space and he's doing it wrong. So that sounded like a very hopeful moment. You go, oh, okay, I can. So how did you get that? Like what changed?
It was totally the perspective. It was 100% the perspective, because you could say you don't change overnight, but you do. Literally, if something just clicks, and I changed. I completely, when I came back from the retreat, I was not the same person. I was just totally different. And I had so many tools to just kind of figure things out. So I just needed practice, and get the support with coaching, get the support through the program. And now, even if something comes up, it's just quick. It happens. Yes, it comes up. But I'm so quick with that, not to go into the victim mode, not to control. And even if I choose to control, it's very conscious. I know I need to apologize later.
Yeah. So it's just, you're bringing a ton of accountability to the way you're interacting with your husband. In fact, I remember you sharing with him at one point, he said something like, what do I need to do to have a better marriage?
That was fantastic. That was when I came back from the retreat and reading a book, and it was probably 2 days later, and we're talking, and he says, okay, so what do I need to change? And I just said, I look at him like, nothing. I was like, what do you mean nothing? Nothing. You just be you and I'll figure it out. And he was shocked. And it was that was the beginning of everything.
And what is it like at your house now?
It's much nicer. It's much nicer. Actually, currently, it's a pretty trying moment because my husband is going through a lot of health issues. But the beautiful thing is that we do have the tools, and we're so close, and we're getting close even through that difficult period of time. We're getting closer and closer. The biggest problem we had was that he kept repeating, like, I can't trust you anymore. I can't trust you anymore. And now he's just so gracious for everything I help him out with, or anything I do. He's extremely gracious and grateful. And he keeps telling me how great mom I am. And it just, even when he's going through the tough period, he's just so happy that we are where we are.
Wow, that's great. So was there a moment where you said to yourself, wow, this is really working? Like, my relationship is totally transformed.
Yes, I do tell that to myself. And actually, it's funny because I told that to myself today, even before the call, because you had a little tiny control thing come up, and I just knew how to take care of it. It happened for a little bit, but then I was just like, that's not where we are anymore. I apologize for being disrespectful. We hugged, we kissed, we moved on. But I have the tools. I'm so conscious of what I'm doing now that it doesn't just happen to me. Like, I can trace it back and say, okay, I was disrespectful. He reacted this way. Now I need to do this or that, or just don't do it again, or figure a better way of how to present something. So it's like a tool set.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. So the same old fight might come around, but because you respond to it so differently, it's like you kind of skip over it and just go right to the good part.
Yes. If we had that same even interaction that we had today in the morning, it would last for 5 days. Yeah. Today, it took all of it. It took probably 10 minutes because I needed to step out and do a meditation, take care of myself. He was like, where are you going? We're not done. I'm like, I need to reset myself. And I consciously stepped out and I reset myself, and I came back and I was loving, and, I apologized, and we just moved on.
Wow. I love that. And was there any tension or kind of any Cold Wars after that? Did it kind of last?
Today, no. Before, oh my goodness. Yes.
It could have been tension.
Yeah, and it keeps the tension in your body, and you just can't let it go. And now I know logically I need to let go. So if my logic can click in really quick, I can remove myself and then come back with a better state of mind. You don't have to keep hashing it out and fighting it. You just step away and then you reset.
I love that. So, and now you went all the way. You have gone through coach training, you've certified, and now you're a coach. How did that impact your relationship?
Well, it keeps me accountable. That's the best, because my husband would ask, like, he asked me literally today, he asked me, did Laura Doyle teach you to be controlling? I'm like, no, the opposite. She taught me not to be controlling and to forgive really quickly and to forget. And that's why I'm the way I'm right now, because of the skills. So he was like, okay, cool. So definitely keeps me accountable, because I ask myself, would I tell a client to behave this way, or why would I tell them? And yes, I can tell them myself, which I just have, but it does definitely keep me accountable. And it provides the support that I need from my co-coaches too, because we all slip every now and then. But the moments of intimacy, the moments of connection, even when you're not at 100%, and like what he's not at 100%, we truly connect more than ever before. I can't even believe that it's actually happening.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, in this case, he kept you accountable. It sounds like, yeah.
He does. Sometimes he does.
And that's a lot of humility, Yola, to just be like, okay, no, that's not what you taught me, right? I mean, you had to be very mature and responsible. But I guess this is part of the empowerment that you're talking about, being able to make that choice.
It's a choice. It's always a choice. Even I teach the same skills to my kids. It's a choice. You can choose to respond this way, or you can see that the person is hurting. That if he reacts a certain way, just listen for that heart message. What's underneath it? It's always searching. It's like a searching. Literally, I'm on a journey of searching and just discovery of what triggers what and how to take care of it.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you've got superpowers to make those conflicts resolve very quickly at your house, which
I sure do. And it's phenomenal because, like I said, it's something that could take forever, and all that anger and all that, those emotions just boiling up, and you lose productivity. Because I'm back to the office. I stepped away from the office for a year because we couldn't work together. It was exhausting. It was just constant fight. So I just didn't enjoy doing it. But I was able to return recently, and so amazing. Even because he's a little sick right now, so we had our employee of 10 years leave for another job. And if that happened a year ago, I would be furious. I would be so scared because I couldn't handle it. We were just not in the right place. And this time, a year later, I'm like, that's cool. We'll figure it out. And it's just like, I'll step in, I'll help out. Whatever it needs to be, we'll figure it out. But we're together, so there's no fear.
So it sounds like you've also really increased your personal confidence, I guess, in yourself and your own capabilities, your capabilities as a couple. That, hey, we're going to get through this. We're going to be okay. We're going to be good.
Yes. At first, it was just a kind of, I don't want to have anything to do with him. I want to remove myself and I want to just step away. But as the time built and I took care of myself, I took care of my needs. I know when I need something, I need to meditate. That's my self-care. I go and meditate. If I need to go on girls' night out, I'll go on girls' night out. Even if I need to go get my nails done, I'll just go and do it. So I feel good. I need to feel good about myself to come back and give. If I'm depleted, bad things start happening. So that's another accountability. And but when you have that, almost for lack of a better word, because my husband lives in protocols, it's like a protocol for happiness. What do you do when you are depleted? What do you do when he gets on your nerves? So you just learn those.
You got the formula now.
That's the
formula. Yeah, I love that. So, and what would you suggest that a woman do who is maybe where you were with the fighting and not modeling for her kids what she wants to be modeling? Oh my gosh, which just reminded me. I remember you telling me a great story about what your family life is like now with the hugging and stuff that wasn't happening before.
I need to tell you that. Yes,
you got to tell me that.
The most beautiful thing. So our kids used to see us fighting, right? Like my son, the 7-year-old, he would come and ask, and that was our daily life. That was our reality. The kids would scream, would cry. Our babysitters and nannies raised the kids because I was constantly working and we were just fighting. But now I'm working less and we are much more loving and caring. So now what happens is that if I go downstairs, my husband is there or vice versa, and I'll give them a hug, all our 3 kids just flock to us. They just come. It's just like a magnet. And they just come to us and they're like, family hug. And they absolutely love that. And now they even start from them. And they will start, 2 of them will start hugging. And they're like, come on, guys, it's family hug. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a good example to set. Like that peace and that stability in the family for the kids, that now they have the stability. They have family hug instead of white guys fighting. What a contrast.
Did your husband ever say something or to acknowledge this transformation in you?
He loves me. He loves my feminine side. I was so masculine. I did not realize that I literally changed into a man. That's why we're fighting all the time, because there was no attractiveness. It was just like, okay, we're business partners. Let's get stuff done. And now he sits there and he's like, I just can't stop touching you. And we just joke and we can work together and we can just reference something from the night before. And he totally loves the feminine side of me. I just can't express that enough. It's just very, very powerful because I'm soft and delicate, but at the same time, I'm in charge of the things I need to be in charge of.
So beautiful. Love that. So if a woman is listening right now and she says, I want to have the family hug vibe with my kids and just feel so loved and get to feel feminine again around my husband. But right now it's just all breakdowns. It's all fighting. And what's your tip for her? What should she do?
Definitely learn the skills. Learn the skills in and out, in and out and practice, I started with gratitude. And that was a huge game changer for me. Gratitude, it just always started. I started for the first time seeing my husband. I used to do gratitudes like every night before I go to sleep. I would say gratitude for 3 things. But then it was the first assignment, or one of the first was to say 10 gratitudes about your husband. I'm like, what's that? What can I be grateful for? And then when I started seeing him differently. And then I started saying it and texting it first and then saying it. And then I think the very second for me came the self-care, because I was depleted. I was just constantly upset and angry that I had to work so much, which I really didn't have to, but I had to, kind of one of those things. And he would tell me, actually, you don't have to work so much. You just have to work with me, kind of, so we collaborate. I couldn't understand that. Now I do. Now I can manage the family and manage the work and just still make it happen. So definitely, I'd say start with gratitude, self-care for me, and then everything else came in place.
It's beautiful, Yella. Well, congratulations on this amazing transformation. You are ending world divorce, starting with your own family, and then, of course, now as a coach, you're positioned to help other women have the same kind of transformation as you. So, and I think the world needs more women like you. It's important in relationships. So beautiful. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing with all of us.
Thank you, and thank you for the skills. I'm eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you're wondering how to get started with fixing your relationship and making it shiny again, then you need a roadmap. Get 6 simple steps to follow that will set your relationship up for success. Discover 3 common mistakes that wives make trying to fix their relationship that just make things worse when you download my free Adored Wife Roadmap. You can do that at getcherished.com. Go to getcherished.com now to get your roadmap in minutes. And now it's time for the Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award.
It's the worst relationship advice of the worst relationship advice. Yeah, it's the worst relationship advice of the worst relationship advice of the week.
For the Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award. And the advice that's got me hopping mad this week is something you often hear when you share the challenges you're having in your relationship. This far too common advice is, you should get divorced. Those words really rub me the wrong way, because there's nothing more discouraging than sharing something you're really struggling with that's so personal and having someone else tell you that the best thing is to destroy your relationship. Like, that's the obvious best solution. And I know this advice to just leave can come from a caring, concerned place. Or it can also be that the person who's giving that advice just doesn't know how else to help except to say, why don't you get divorced? And I even see this get mixed up with feminine empowerment. Like, don't let anybody keep you down. And sure, it takes a lot of strength to leave a relationship. But it takes even more strength to stay in a relationship, to choose commitment and faith, and find the courage and humility to look at how you may have contributed to the awful problems. It's much more empowering to stay so you can grow and become your best self and transform that relationship into the one that you set out to have. In fact, being in a relationship and seeing my behavior reflected in that marriage mirror every day has been the best self-improvement program I've ever undertaken. If I had left my marriage, I would have just been running away from the mirror. Staying in the marriage and taking an unflinching look at myself in the response from my husband that I got, that has helped me become my best self. So saying, why don't you just get divorced, to a woman who's trying to figure out how to be happy in her relationship, it's like saying to someone who's training for the Olympics and is feeling challenged, like, why don't you just quit? Only I think learning how to love and be loved is even more impressive, more valuable, more admirable. I can't think of anything that's more important than wanting to have a great relationship, because that's what makes families strong. And strong families are what make strong communities. And strong communities are what make strong countries. So the whole world is dependent on happy relationships. And when someone says, just get a divorce, They aren't typically thinking about the consequences that could have for you. You know, the loneliness, the financial stress, the heartache for your kids, the loss of status in your community, the strain on your health, the awkward family get-togethers for the rest of your life. They may just want you to stop complaining. But I get it. I started with complaining too. That was all I had. And I came very close to ending my marriage. And every day, I'm so grateful that I didn't. And for those reasons, the advice that you should just get divorced is the worst advice I've heard all week. Be sure to listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. Next week, I'll be sharing how to get your husband to pay attention to you. It's time for a little fun because having fun is so important. Today's fun fact is that sometimes I overshare with my girlfriends. My husband once gave me some lingerie and then he said, just think, no one knows about this except for you and me and all your friends.